Welcome, everybody, to the Freethinkers Living Sober Zoom meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. We are today celebrating our 10th anniversary as a group and as a group of meetings. And I'm really excited about that. I couldn't imagine that it would last that long, but I think it's going to last even longer. And I hope everybody is ready to hear some good shares and also maybe share a little bit about your experience with Freethinkers meeting. I wanted to start with a moment of silence. I tell you what I'd really like to do is share a portion of the screen here. It's and so for our moment of silence, if you would like to, you might think about some of our graduated members. That's what we used to call people who died sober. We called them graduating the program. And several of the members that were originating members are part of this group as well. Daryl, Jim H. was one of the founders. Louise S., who was sober, I think 54 years or so when she died. So I just wanted to mention that, and now we'll just have a moment of silence. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Can we have another moment of silence for Don? Suzanne said he passed.
Oh, Don R. did?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, let's do that. He was our Canadian brother. If you don't recognize the name, he came here a lot for a long time, and then he got a little sicker. So let's just have another moment for him. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up, Bill. Now I'm going to try and continue. So as a group, we're secular. That is, we're not religious. We are free thinkers, which means all views are welcome. We do ask that everybody share in the first person and not attempt to dissuade, argue, or disrespect anyone else or their beliefs. And I'd like to welcome anybody here that's new to this meeting or that's new to AA. And if you are and you would like to, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself so we can get to know you.
I'm Denise, alcoholic addict, and I haven't been to the Friday meeting. This is my first time here, but I've been to other Freethinkers meetings. So I just wanted to check it out.
Welcome, Denise.
Hey,
Thank you.
Denise.
Hi, Suzanne.
Anyone else? All right. Welcome. Glad you're here. Let's see. I can't find where I was. Here we are. Would someone care to read the preamble for us? Catherine's going to share that to the screen. If there's anybody who'd like to do that.
I'll do it.
Belle, thank you.
Bill, you'll need to unmute yourself. John, I cannot see share screen on here.
I am unmuted, but I'm waiting for Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a fellowship of people who share. Okay.
Bill, are you able to just read it? Because I am not getting share screen on here.
Oh, I wouldn't dare.
Okay, I
Let's
could
see. I don't
read
know
it.
where it is. Okay, please do.
Okay. Catherine, I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other. that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Thank you, Catherine. So this is a typical Friday. Whenever I'm leading, you never know what's going to happen. So, uh, we will invite everybody who wants to share for 3 to 4 minutes after we've had some speakers talking about the meeting from the beginning and that kind of thing. If you have any questions or anything, please send them to Catherine or Dave in the chat, and they'll be happy to answer them. We do leave the chat open, but we ask that you not use the chat to share to everybody while people are speaking, because it's kind of distracting and makes it a little bit difficult. We do allow crosstalk at this meeting when we get to the share portion, but for us, that means, sharing support and identifying with what people have said. It doesn't mean arguing or being disagreeable or trying to dissuade them or anything like that. So after everybody has shared, if time permits, and today we should have plenty of time because we've allowed for extra time, people will be able to double dip if they really need to after everybody's had a chance. The information regarding other meetings by this group, where to send a 7th edition contributions, and any service opportunities or anything else will be posted. Some of it will be in the chat, but most of it will be in a PDF that's going to be available for download from the chat. So we're trying to reduce the amount of time we spend on that kind of thing. So without any further ado, or I don't, either one, I'd just like to say a few things about this meeting. In the early fall of 2014, one of our members who's since passed away, Jim H., who had at the time, I think he had only about a year of sobriety at the time, and Kurt with a C, who had about 30 years at the time, came up to me after a meeting and said they'd heard me say in meetings that I didn't believe in God, and asked if I'd be interested in helping him start an AA meeting that would be more open to atheists and agnostics and freethinkers and not so God-oriented. And I told him, sure. So my wife, Kat, and I sort of started making plans about finding a time and a location for an organizational meeting. And we put together a flyer and we put it out. We also put together a list of possible names. I got that from the New York had a listing of agnostic meetings at the time. And so I got a list out of that from the New York Agnostic. Is Joe here? He'd remember the name of that. I can't remember the name of the site that was in New York. But anyway, so a bunch of different names. We made a flyer announcing the meeting. We didn't know whether anybody would even show up. I mean, we knew the 4 of us would. And we had like 13 people at the organizational meeting, which to me seemed really a lot. I was surprised. Unfortunately, we don't have the sheet of paper that we wrote everybody's names down on at the time. But the group decided that we wanted it to be a home group, and a home group has a special meeting in Alcoholics Anonymous, which you can look up on aa.org in one of the flyers about the AA group. And we wanted it to be open to anybody. They didn't have to be atheists or agnostics. They didn't even have to be free thinkers if they didn't want to be. So we talked about all these different names and narrowed it down. And ultimately, we came up with the name Freethinkers because we wanted it to be, anybody who had any kind of belief, but believed that they were open-minded and free thinking. so it should be open to anybody, whether they're an atheist, a deist, an agnostic, an apatheist, whatever name they came up with. And we decided to name it after the only secular pamphlet in AA at the time, which was Living Sober, which was written by one of my favorite people in AA. He's passed away since quite a while ago, actually, a guy by the name of Barry L. By the way, if you ever get a chance to hear his, I think there's only one recording of him left out there about Tradition 3. But he was one of the first secular or non-theist members, along with well, there were a few others, but he was also an LGBTQ plus member before we had LGBTQ plus. So we started our first meeting on Fridays at noon, and right around November 21st of 2014 at the Verde Valley Medical Center conference room. We had about 14 members there. We started reading from Josie's Beyond Belief book, which was a new book at the time. As I mentioned, a couple of the people there, and actually somebody, I don't know if Melanie's here, but she still comes to the meetings, and she is what you might call a quote unquote believer, whatever that might mean. And anyway, so we wanted it to be named after the Living Sober because it's a great book, very pragmatic solutions for especially early sobriety. Well, by 2018, we had 3 meetings a week, 2 at noon on Mondays and Fridays, and 1 at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. 2 of them were in the Alano Club. We decided we wanted to be in the Alano Club because more newcomers came to the Alano Club, and we wanted to be open to newcomers, obviously. And also, one of our members, a guy by the name of Jack, started breakfast meeting at Annie's restaurant here in town, which was a 7:30 in the morning meeting. It didn't last too long because pretty soon we had COVID happen. And so that kind of put a stop to our face-to-face meetings in, I think that was March of 2019 that we started the Zoom meetings. And we wanted to try and make them hybrid, but I couldn't get anybody who didn't like Zoom and wanted it to be face-to-face. I couldn't get anybody to pick up the mantle and volunteer to run that. So we never did it. As of this date, all of our meetings are on Zoom, and we've made a commitment to stay on Zoom and to be a Zoom meeting. Although we're still members of District 14-1 and Area 3, so that we can have input into the service structure of Alcoholics Anonymous. As of November 15th, today, I looked at the list because some people have left. We have 138 people from all over the United States, Canada, and Europe. Not all of them attend all the time. We get anywhere from a low of 8 or 10 people sometimes at the Tuesday evening meeting to anywhere from 35, sometimes 40 people at the Monday, Wednesday, Friday meetings. So it's really grown a lot, and not everybody attends every week or every meeting, but a lot of people do, and I appreciate that. Also, it used to be that Kat and I kind of did everything. In the first few years, it was like herding sheep to try and get somebody to volunteer to do something. And that was okay, but recently, within the last few years, a lot of people have stepped up now to take over a lot of those duties, and boy, do we appreciate it. That's enough out of me. I wanted to ask my half-side Kat L if she would be willing to say a few words to us. For those of you who don't know it, she's really the one who got us all organized, and all the organization that was done was amazing. And once I had to take it because she had a stroke, it's not too organized anymore the way that it was. So Kat, would you like to say anything?
Say something if I can. My name is Kat Little Creek and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm here to tell you about the beginnings of the Freethinkers Living Sober meetings back in 2014. We'd been going to meetings for a long time, and frankly, we were getting pretty tired of the God stuff. We tried to let it pass, but to no avail. The God stuff lived on most of the time. About November or so, Kurt and Jim H. suggested a new godless meeting, letting believers and non-believers alike share in the new meeting with no repercussions. We agreed and announced the meeting, hoping more than 4 of us would show up. There were 13 people at that meeting. There is hope. And at this meeting, I became the secretary, the treasurer, the meeting leader, and anything else the meeting needed, hoping that the meeting would begin to draw enough people to stick around. And that was the beginning. And 10 years later, there are 3 meetings a week at noon and 1 more at 7:30 p.m. I'm glad to be here, stroke and all. When I share, I'll share anything I like with no repercussions. Thanks for letting me share.
Very good, Kat. So I also wanted to mention that the Wednesday meeting that we had, the Wednesday meeting that started by Beth. She really wanted to have a Wednesday meeting. Like, for a long time, we were just Friday and Monday. And also Suzanne started the Tuesday evening meeting at her house. At that time, she was still living in Cat Baby, if I remember correctly. Then, are you available? Can you say a few words?
Me? You ready for me?
You and then.
Uh-oh, can't hear you.
Couldn't hear me? So, I talked about you started the Tuesday meeting.
Suddenly your audio has gotten very distorted.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, there you are. There you are. Did you want me to speak now, John?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne. I'm an alcoholic. It's wonderful to be here. And John and Kat, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen either one of you in a while. Yeah, so back when I was living in Rimrock, I've worked from home for an IT company. And although I worked from home, I wasn't able to get to the daytime meetings without missing too much time driving back and forth to Cottonwood. So we started a Tuesday night meeting at the firehouse in Cornville originally. And then when COVID hit, had it at my house a few times and then took it to Zoom once the lockdown started. And it's been going ever since. And I chaired that meeting until just about a month ago, when Sarah and Greg took over every other week chairing it, but I still go to it and probably always will. So the first, I guess, probably the first 2 years of my sobriety, I was in traditional AA, did the steps a few times, and nothing on the spiritual end was really resonating with me. And then we discovered Freethinkers Living Sober, and I swear this group saved my life, because I don't know if I would have stayed in AA without it. And so I went to as many of the daytime meetings as I could possibly go to, which wasn't a whole lot because of my job. But the first time I went, I remember that Kat, you took me aside after the meeting and you talked to me about anxiety and about how I didn't want to speak in meetings and how I didn't even want to read in meetings and how I didn't really feel part of AA. I didn't, even though I had done the steps and I was going to 12 meetings a week, I felt like I was on the outside looking in. I now live in New York State and the meetings are much different here, but in Arizona, I found them to be very God oriented, and I just couldn't find my way. And Kat, you really helped me, and John, you really helped me. So starting the Tuesday night group, I'd sit at the firehouse thinking no one would show up, but people came. And Belle came. I remember Randy being there. Catherine was there. John and Kat came sometimes. Melanie would come sometimes. And we had all different people that would come. And then on Zoom, now we have a regular group of people that come on Tuesday nights. And yeah, I'm very sad to have told the group that Don R did pass on Wednesday, but living in Canada, he got to go out on his own terms. He was able to apply for medically assisted death and was approved for it and pick when he left this world and on his own terms. So I think it was a very peaceful, he was full of acceptance when he went. He's one of the many, many old-timers in Freethinkers that I will carry wisdom with me forever. John, Randy, Terry, all you guys, you know, Kat, Catherine, all of you that were here first, you saved my life. And I'm just so honored to speak today and be part of this group and to have our little redheaded step-haired child Tuesday night meeting that goes on. And we love it. And I just love you all. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks, Suzanne. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Suzanne was one of the early newcomers that came, and now I'd like to turn the speaker over to. I saw Kat G here somewhere. Kat, are you available?
I'm here. Can you see me?
I can. Oh, your iPhone.
Oh, right. Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Kat or Catherine, recovered alcoholic, and I don't have a way to watch the time here. So if I start carrying on, will you please stop me? Okay.
Well,
We have that.
you have a little more time this time, so go for it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to give a little quick background to what led me to Freethinkers. I have struggled ever since I first came into AA. As far as being a believer goes, it was so drummed into me that was important, that I be this believer in a higher power. And I was grateful that the meetings I went to back east where I got sober in Massachusetts, people didn't question me on you know what my power was. And I was so grateful, because if I had, I never would have stuck around. If I had to tell people I'm not like you guys or whatever. And there might have been a lot of people like me, but we just didn't voice it, you know. And but I always focused on what the results were that I was supposed to be attaining through AA. And so I worked hard and gave it everything I had, and I'm still here all these years later. However, by the time we were getting to that point where John and the others were starting this Freethinkers meeting, I was walking along, you know, walking as usual in my community, and I would go behind Kurt's house, and Kurt saw me and he came running out, and it's like, Kat, there's a Freethinkers meeting starting. It's like, what? And I was so excited. I think you'd already had your organizational meeting, so I went to the second gathering, and yeah, I remember there were 13 people there too. But I was so grateful. I felt like for the very first time in AA, I was able to let my hair down and not have to be careful about the words that I chose, and just to be, you know, my complete authentic self and feel safe. And I often think about those first 13 and wonder what's become of some of them, because a lot of people didn't come along with us into the Zoom meetings. But, you know, the meetings were half an hour away from where I lived, so I didn't get to as many as I would like to. I wasn't able to always have that kind of time you know, to do that kind of travel. And I've got some disabilities that would make my energy level unpredictable and such. But anyway, I stuck with it, and I'm just so glad that I did, because I feel like there was a huge transformation that was happening in me, but it was happening gradually. And it was more and more about, you know, coming into my own power and feeling like I was I didn't have the conflict within me anymore. And I didn't even notice that was happening, but it did. And I felt like, you know, like that promise that we hear in AA about, you know, having this host of friends, and we're going to be able to make these lifelong connections. It wasn't happening to me before I got into Free Thinkers. I would do my best to stay close with people, but I didn't really make those strong personal connections to give me that true sense of fellowship that I craved so much. So I was really grateful that I stuck around, and that we and when we moved into the Zoom rooms, so to speak, I felt this is great. I don't have to worry about pulling myself together to drive and make it an all-day thing, and you know, whatever. And I was grateful. But like I said, I was sorry a lot of people didn't follow us in here. And you know, I hear little tidbits about how they're doing, you know, still sober. And I but in any case, how exciting that we have stuck around all these years, and that we have grown to this incredible size, and we just keep growing. And I would say, outside of my own personal gains, we struggled finding newcomers to come in. We even put out a big sign by our front entrance to our room there, where they had a regular meeting going on, regular, so to speak, meeting going on. And then we had this meeting going on over here. And oh my gosh, people were saying, don't go to that godless meeting. They're godless in there. Like we were going to eat them alive or something. Heathens anyway. What? and I felt like maybe part of it was because of being right by the other meetings. People didn't maybe necessarily feel safe to venture across the room there, you know, to try something new, because perhaps their sponsor or their friends would have shamed them. I don't know. But in any case, you know, here we are, and we continually attract newcomers, and some people got sober in this meeting. Wow. And they've been sober for years, and they're strong members of our community. And yeah, and it just keeps going on. But I frankly, I don't know, but I have this sense that I might have not have stuck around all these years, these last 10 years in AA, because I was feeling alone. And for me, that's dangerous, you know, to feel like it's me against the world and that sort of thing. That's how I felt when I first got sober. And I don't ever want to go back to that place. And so I've made this host of friends, and I've also had the courage to go outside of the meetings and make another huge group of friends that are mostly, you know, atheists and agnostics. There's a lot of people out there that think like us. And and curiously enough, so many of them have dabbled in 12-step programs as well. But in any case, I really have grown profoundly, and am really grateful that we've continued all these years. And I don't think we're going to go anywhere. I think we're going to just keep going. And we've inspired other people to start groups too. Wow, you know, so we've had more reach than we ever dreamed possible in this group. And I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for asking me to share, John, and look forward to hearing our other speakers today. Thank you.
Thanks, Kat. Yeah, Kat was one of the early people. I know that some people have showed up since we first started. I I just wanted to share this screen again. If I can get rid of this thing. These were some of the early members. Daryl S., who was one of our early members. Jim H., is mentioned here, was about a year sober when we started the meeting. Wonderful guy. He's one of my favorite people. He was in his 80s when he got sober. Louise S. was an early member and a believer, although I could never define for you what it was she believed. She was really a trip. She was in her, I think she was 54 years sober when she died. Stan L. used to say that we should have called this the palliative care group because so many of our members were having problems physically and like that. And of course, Stan passed away. He was around the same time of sobriety as me. And Declan from Ireland, who's since passed away, one of my favorite people. He was really one of the people that I felt really close to. And as Belle brought up, Don R., who passed away on Wednesday, has been a great member of our group.
And
So,
Peg,
and
Peg.
and Peg was a member of our group too later on. Yeah. So I would like to now ask Randy if he'd like to share with us, 10 or 15 minutes or whatever you want to say about the early days and your sobriety, etc.
Thank you, John. Randy, alcoholic. Was like a family reunion. It's great to see Kat. Kat L. is John's mate. Great to see Suzanne. Great to remember those names that you put up there. I didn't realize that Declan had passed away. And I had heard that Don had made a decision, and I didn't know that he had officially passed. I got an email yesterday from one of my sisters, who we don't share a whole lot in common other than the fact that we were raised in the same house. But, about a mutual friend, a guy that worked for my dad for years, is 92 and is going into dementia and passing. And I've just, hardcore Southern Baptist believers. And I don't know if I should say this or not, but I can't get over the difference that I see sometimes between the bravery that I see atheists exhibit when they meet their end, and the utter terror that I see some true believers that think they're going to be in the arms of the Lord tomorrow. I don't quite get it. But anyway, that's the way I was raised, Southern Baptist, North Carolina, alcoholic father, who was also my Sunday school teacher. Quite a few mixed messages in my upbringing. Well, I fell for it hook, line, and sinker and wanted to be a Baptist preacher. About time I turned 18 in 71, the 60s arrived in North Carolina finally, and I jumped into everything with both feet and tried to make up for lost time of a overprotective mother. And make a long story short, for 18 years, I went back and forth between my biggest problem being this drug or it being this alcohol, and I was going to get a handle on it by only doing this thing over here. But the bottom line is I started with just alcohol and I ended with just alcohol. And there is no stronger than alcohol, in my humble opinion. I probably lost 10 friends to drugs, including my college roommate was a heroin addict. But I probably lost 200 friends to alcohol, including my father. So I feel like I turned my back, if there's probably a better way of saying it, on religion a couple of times. The first time was when I turned 18 and said, the hell with my parents, this racism, this sexism, this only true religion, all of this kind of stuff. And then 18 years later, when I hit the wall really, really hard from drinking, I wouldn't say that I swallowed the God stuff again, but I was so desperate that I went along for a long, long time. So that sort of gets me up to when this group started. I was 25 years sober in 2014 when the group started. And I had just, my wife of 37 years decided she needed a divorce. My 130 acres that bordered a national park and my business with 9 employees all went up in smoke within a year. And I had an old RV and I hit the road and wound up in Yuma, Arizona on Christmas Eve of 2014. And about as blue as I've ever been in my life. Looked online, found an AA meeting. Hour later, I had 40 new friends that got invited to Christmas Day dinner the next day, and you know how it works. So I stayed down there for almost 6 months. Never crossed my mind when all these major changes, the divorce and all happened in my life, to think that alcohol would be a solution or would lessen any pain. I never went away from AA, but I jumped back into it with both feet and went to 2 or 3 meetings a day, including Al-Anon, for that first few years after the divorce. So Yuma turned out to be just as God-centered as Northwest Arkansas did, where I moved from. And I was thinking to myself, I'm 25 years sober. I've never forgotten for one day what I am and how badly alcohol whipped my ass. I've never been tempted to take a drink. To think that that would help my life. But I didn't know if I could stick around for the godliness. I just did not. And that was scary as hell to be 25 years sober and think I got to leave AA, the thing that I acknowledge saved my life. Well, when it started getting so hot in Yuma, I came up for the AA convention in Flagstaff and then made it down to Cottonville and heard about this meeting that had started in November. So this was like Memorial Day, early June of 2015. And I've been a proud member of it ever since. I cannot possibly overstate how it has changed my life, how I don't have to think about leaving AA because of disagreements. When I was in Cottonwood, and I lived there for 4 years where John lives, and Eve and I were a couple, and she was a true believer, but went to both kinds of meetings with me. I had some dear friends at that 7 o'clock a.m. meeting, some dear friends, but it got to the point where I couldn't stand and say the Lord's Prayer at the end. I would not do it. I can't remember what I did, if I left or if I just stood and held hands and didn't say anything. But, you know, that's like an internal conflict. These are my best friends. These are people that saved my life, but I have so much not in common with them. So the Freethinkers really changed my life. And then some of those early meetings, we wound up having them at the same time as the noon meeting of the regular meeting. So there'd be 12 of us in one half of the building and 40 of them speaking so loudly. And then God said this and that, and it was like a competition, and it was almost felt physically threatening at times. I took copper wire and made a Freethinker sign that we hang on the door every day. And then the second year I was there, 2016, the group sent me to Austin, Texas to attend the second ever Freethinkers conference. And I met Josie in person. Well, actually, I think I had met him before because he'd come to Cottonwood occasionally. And I found more peace in the last few years, a lot more than I've ever had in my life. And I don't know how much of that is me changing with age, how much is not having that internal conflict from having a different core belief set with the people that I'm in AA with. But I've seen so many of those people on that list that you gave. Jim, I think, got sober at 81 and died at 85. He was 4 years sober. And he was instrumental in every one of us sitting right here today. And I love Zoom. I don't have to wear pants. I won't scroll down, but it's great. It's you can go most anywhere. I live in a small trailer and I move with the weather. But one of the criteria is that I'm usually within sight of the top of a cell tower somewhere so that I can do Zoom meetings and be online, although there's a whole lot of news I don't care to see. But I found that Alcoholics Anonymous, especially the Freethinkers flavor of it, can see me through. It can see me through winning elections, losing elections, losing wives, losing loved ones. There's nothing so bad that a drink can't make it worse. And the goal, my goal, and it should be yours, is how long do I have to stay sober till I die from something else? You know, I don't want to die by my own hand. I don't want to die by my own hand. And I don't want to walk around with a black cloud over my head like I used to. I've learned to be somewhat of a positive person. And to whatever the situation is, try not to make it worse. And we're not going to get out alive. We might as well enjoy ourselves a little bit. And each and every one of us here has a superpower. We know how to not drink ourselves to death, or I hope you do. It seems like I got a pretty good run at it. And I'm certainly willing to give of myself, not so much in a group setting, especially with my lifestyle right now, and sharing, because I don't always have internet service, but on a one-to-one basis, I meet a lot of people out here, and some of them are retiring and think, okay, no more constraints, I'll just sit back and drink. So there's some old alcoholics out here. And I'm always willing to give of myself and share my story in a non-confrontational way if I can. So thank you so much for asking me, John, to speak. Thank you for being so instrumental in starting this group. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for choosing the words Freethinkers Living Sober. Every one of those three words is incredibly important to me. I love the freethinker concept of I have no unexamined beliefs. I don't believe a damn thing because mama said so or daddy said so or a school teacher or a preacher. I might believe it, but I examined it and said, yeah, that was a good idea. But I didn't leave it unexamined. And I love the Living Sober group. Book. Thank you all. Stay sober.
Thanks, Randy. Yeah, always appreciated hearing you, buddy. And miss you. I mean, being able to see you physically. So I got one more person I want to call on that was there in the early days. And that's Belle. Do you want to share a bit with us, Belle?
Sure. Thank you for giving me credit for being there in the early days, because I guess 5.5 years this past Tuesday. So I kind of came midstream, but yeah, always happy to hang out with Freethinkers. Belle, addict alcoholic. Wow, great stuff today, always. God, Randy just said something that I thought about with, it'll come. Anyway, so I've told this story several times because it's been so profound for me. And that was that I came back into the rooms after being sober for, I was sober for 24 years and then I went out for 10. And I loved AA in the beginning because I got sober in Northern California and it felt right to me. And I didn't feel like I was being admonished for anything, actually. I just felt accepted and held and really supported. But I moved back to Arizona, and of course they didn't do AA like I experienced in Northern California. And God, I was with, well, no, I'm not going to go there. I was going to say something about no teeth, but I'm a person without a tooth now, so I'm not going to make fun of that. Anyway, so I kind of held on by myself for a good 10 years in and out of drinking, on and off again with drinking. And I was very controlled, and I felt empowered at times. Mostly I felt completely disempowered. Hang on just a second. I was not able to stay sober, and I didn't drink a lot, but I couldn't stay sober, and it was making me absolutely nuts. And then I had a situation one day where I wasn't even planning on drinking, and I drank. I didn't drink enough. I didn't get drunk. I mean, it was just an insane occurrence for me, and I knew where to go. After having been around AA for so long, I knew how to stay sober. I knew how to stay sober. It was just a question of how desperate I would get to return to that knowledge. So I started showing up in Sedona to women's meetings, and I was ready. I mean, I was going to do anything to stay sober until I got uncomfortable. And a lot of that had to do with my own, my own personal anger, fear, what have you. I just felt really uncomfortable with the kind of information and the way in which AA was being presented to me. And a lot of it was, of course, God-centered, but very big book based, and I just found so many ways to not like myself, around AA and what it meant, and a lot of it was I just didn't feel like I was up to the task to be one of those big book thumpers. And I always like to think that I excel at things, but so yeah, was feeling good, loved being sober, and I started hanging out in Cottonwood, and that's when I ran into John at a meeting, and Catherine and Randy. Actually, I don't think I saw Randy quite. Oh, I did at the regular Alano Club meetings. And it was that one day when John said, I used to be in the God business, but I'm not anymore. I don't believe in God. And I like, wow, you've got to be joking. You're saying that at a regular AA meeting. So I ran up to him after the meeting and was like, just panting so hard, like, you're kidding. We don't have to do that. We can do it differently. And so I started going to the Freethinkers meetings, and life carried on. I actually ended up going to Rome for an event 6 months later, and I was new, still new, and Kat L was so awesome in helping support me through that time. We were WhatsApping constantly, and she was just helping calm the little bit of alcohol insanity, since I was in Italy and there was a lot of alcohol. So anyway, fast forward. So that was what, 2019. Okay, so 2020, the meeting went online, or maybe it had gone online, I think. I was traveling again, and I came back, and there was the Monday meeting, the Friday meeting, and the Tuesday night meeting. And I needed a Wednesday meeting. So I talked to John. He says, well, why don't you start one? I said, okay. So I did. And I'm really grateful. I just needed that midweek hit of AA and the fellowship, and just feeling grounded in the program in a free thinking fashion. Great group of people. I've made so many new friends. I've got a couple of really dear friends that I've met in the program. We have a girls group that we meet with once a week. We've written our own steps. I mean, none of that kind of stuff could have happened in traditional AA. And I appreciate it. And I also appreciate the foundation, the format of the original program, or the conventional program, or the traditional program, whatever you want to call it. And I like that. To me, it's like improvising. Like if you know how to play the piano and you know how to read music, but then you improvise, and that's where all the magic happens, and the genius and the creativity. And I love the creative part of Freethinkers AA. That's what makes me want to stay sober and help my fellow alcoholics. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it. I do have one other person I'd really like to hear from also. So pardon me, but She wasn't quite a newcomer, but almost a newcomer. Margarita, were you expecting me to call on you?
In a way, yeah. Because yeah, whenever people didn't have their hands up. Yeah. Hi, I'm alcohol free, Margarita. And no, thank you for calling on me because I'm just thinking about how fucking grateful I am that this, excuse me, that this group exists. I'm a Zoom baby and in Arizona, and I was just looking for groups in nearby in Arizona area, and found Cottonwood, and that's just an hour and change away, and even though it was on Zoom, I just thought it would be good to be nearby. But actually, Cottonwood opened up a whole world to me. You mentioned Don R, and I just um, I remember him talking about Beyond Belief Toronto and the Modern 12 Steps, and that just really saved my life. That this group and knowing about, we're not alone. It's a whole world of people that we can relate with outside of just our little boxes. And I've been really lucky because I've been able to meet a lot. Even though I'm a Zoom baby, I've been able to travel places and meet people in person. I got to meet Don R in person, and a lot of people here in the room, and I am so grateful. I was definitely my first 6 months. I don't think I missed a single meeting, all 4 days of the week. And now I have about 3 years and 5 months sober, and it's and and what people were talking about, not I didn't have to worry about scaring anybody by the fact that I'm an atheist, or don't really, I wouldn't do things differently if there were not a God. I don't care, it's I do good, I feel good, and it seems kind of shallow actually. I think that people have to be good because they think they're going to get punished. I don't know, but you should probably anyway. Why just do good because it makes you feel good. And I didn't have to hide that like I did at work. I couldn't tell people that I was an atheist because it would upset them so much here in Arizona. But yeah, it made a huge difference to me, the being honest and being safe to be vulnerable, and just found such a loving group of people here. I'm so proud to call you my home group, and grateful for you. And yes, thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. Yes, and now we're out to conquer the world. He's great. So we have plenty of time left because we extended the time for this meeting to 12:30, or 1:30, I mean. So I'd like to ask if anybody wants to raise their hand. And actually, I do need, is there anybody who would like to be the timer for this period of the session? Art? Okay, great. So, 3 to 4 minutes. At 4 minutes, we've got this big hook. We're going to reach out through the internet, and so I'm just going to wait for some raised hands. I know somebody's got stuff they want to say. Okay, Kenji.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. Hi, everybody. Kenji, addict, alcoholic, human in recovery. And this group has definitely grown to be dear to my heart. Lovely group of people. And also when I found secular AA on Zoom early in the pandemic, when I was getting sober again, after years of Groundhog Day going in and out, for the first, I don't know, 3 years or so, I found my role in secular AA, which was muting mics and battling bombers. But after 3 years, the battling bombers has gotten so old. And I've grown to really appreciate groups that have figured out ways to exclude the bombers. And this is one of those groups for sure. And I so appreciate that. And I'm so tempted to suggest this method of getting rid of the bombers to other meetings, except I'm afraid that if it got to be a commonplace technique, that it wouldn't work any longer, and that would undercut this meeting, because I'm kind of amazed that it works as flawlessly as it did. One other small group that I go to, which is Agnostics in Progress on Tuesday, in recent months, we adopted the same method, and it's working flawlessly there too. And that's fantastic. Early on, back in my early sobriety in the 1980s in Los Angeles, I found the We Agnostics group, which was a Friday night meeting that was a secular group. And the founder of that group is a guy named Charlie P. And he would say that he came into AA an atheist, and 20 years of sobriety had made him a better atheist. But he'd go on to say that there was no step he couldn't work as an atheist. And just hearing that, those several sentences were incredibly important to me. And it was just during this meeting that it dawned on me, the secular AA was not my only meeting in Los Angeles, but it was my home group. And there were several other meetings too. And then I moved to San Francisco, and the secular groups here were kind of angry atheists ranting about the other people and the other idiots in AA who believed in fairy tales. And that wasn't very attractive to me. So I kind of settled into mainstream AA. And after 3 years of mainstream AA, I got loaded, and I went in and out ever since until the pandemic, and I reconnected with secular AA. I don't think it's as simple as I can only say so with secular AA, but that's an interesting connection that actually never crossed my mind before the middle of this meeting right here, which I just thought, isn't that interesting? Anyway, that's enough out of me. Thank you so much for being you, and for being us. This is an awesome group. Thank you.
Thanks, Kenji. Dave.
Dave, alcoholic. Yeah, I wanted to express my gratitude for this group and the people that put it together and kept it going before I found it. I got sober in like Cat G. I got sober in New England. Got sober in New Hampshire, which is not that far from Massachusetts. Like her, my experience with the religion thing wasn't as overpowering as I understand it can be in places generally further south than I live. Although there is here always an undercurrent of the deity kind of concept, mostly Christian deities, although most people in the room sort of kind of walk around it. But I always felt uncomfortable coming out, so like others have said, I would play around with phrasing it in such a way that it wouldn't piss off the other people in the room. I'm grateful for mainstream AA. I came in '96 and I got sober, and it kept me sober. I've always believed that the group of drunks, the fellowship was was as close to a higher power as I had known. And so, I would try to not piss people off too much, and keep that connection. So but I remember in the mid 2010s, I started going online and searching for Googling things like atheist AA, and I ran into AA Agnostica, which kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there were other people like me out there, but it was still all in-person meetings, and there were no freethinker meetings in Southern New Hampshire where I got sober. So I was kind of limited to reading about the experiences of others, and one of them was the Toronto Beyond Belief group and the struggles they had with getting on the meeting lists. And so when the COVID hit in 2019 and everything went to Zoom, I discovered that Toronto Beyond Belief was online, and so I started going to that meeting, and it was really, yeah, just eye-opening to be at a meeting where I could say whatever I wanted. I could express whatever belief I wanted. There were other people that were openly saying, I'm an atheist and I've been sober. And seeing people, like our friend Penny, who comes here often, that just celebrated 54 years as an atheist, as a non-believer in AA, and has amazing recovery. I found this group through the Beyond Belief, the Varieties of Secular Experience workshop that John used to run. And so I became aware of this group, and I started going to it because the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday times were really convenient for somebody who's newly retired and not always filling my day up. And I just found a home here. I love it here. I had been very active in service in traditional AA, and I'd sort of stepped back from that. And I found a place here in this group where I can be of service. I spent a year being a meeting co-leader on Monday, and I'm the business group chairman, or business meeting chair now. It's a gift to be able to give back in some small way, and this is a great group of people to be really close to. I've got a lot of powers of example, so to speak, that I've met through here. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. And we really appreciate you doing all the work that you do too. It's really great. I thought I saw Joe sneak in here. If y'all don't mind, hey Joe, how you
It's
doing?
right in the middle.
Yeah,
I see him.
yeah. He's probably still working on getting his thing done. Julia, do you want to go?
It looks like Joe's ready.
Well, he's too late now, Julia. I already called on you.
Okay, here I go. Hi, all. I'm so happy to be here for this anniversary of this group. I've known so many of you so quickly because I guess of the affiliation. So I'm Julia, person in recovery from a number of addictions, but mostly and most deeply alcohol. Let's see, I got sober in 1981, and in 1983, I discovered Freethinkers in Seattle at the Leif Erikson Hall. And there were 6 men who met at dinner hour. And so it became difficult for me to attend, but I was attending there until I moved to Arkansas in 1986. And there was no more free thinking going on there. So I was there for a few years, and when I moved back to Seattle, I was so disturbed by the religious aspect, and I was pretty outspoken about it in a what I thought was a polite way, respectful. But somebody reported me to General Service Office in New York. For trying to get rid of the religion, and I got copies of the letter that got sent to New York, and sort of started to try to respond, but nobody ever came to arrest me. So, so, so I just started my own meetings, and I called them 11-step meetings, but mostly what we did was just meditation. And I found that meditation was compatible with secular and compatible with my non-belief. So carried on like that until COVID hit, and I was sick with COVID for a month, and when it came out, I found that regular AA on Zoom was even more incompatible with my sense of what AA is about, and quickly found some secular meetings, and using Joe's book, thank you, Joe, and then this meeting, and oh, I was so grateful to have found all of you, and I'm so happy to see you, John and Kat and Belle and Randy and Kat G and Joe and all of you, and Marguerite and Diane and all of you who, Tim, so many of you have been of service when I've been able to drop into the meet, and Suzanne, you're still here. So glad to see you again. Anyway, I found that this meeting has been a true saving for me, because I was about to give up completely on AA, and now I find it. I even went to a live meeting, an in-person meeting, where the fellow who reported me to General Service Office was in attendance, and I was able to just say hi. And because I have a place where I can come and where I can feel like I belong. Thank you.
Thanks, Julia. So glad to see you. Diane, I'm gonna jump in here and ask Joe to share a couple of words. He's actually we've been his alternate home group for a while. And Joe, would you like to just jump in for a minute? Well, more than that, but you're gonna have to unmute, brother.
There we go.
There.
Yeah, this is great. I'm one of the lucky ones who's been to this in-person meeting and still alive. There's plenty of people who can speak to only one or the other of those. And I'm very, very grateful. This has always felt like my second home group, because I just got lucky enough to spend quite a bit of time. And I don't think those were the good old days of the in-person stuff. I don't think this new technology is way better. It's a kind of a yes and thing. It's I'm at an airport, so I won't wax poetic for long, but this meeting matters to me a lot, and it's great to see everybody here.
It's great to see you too, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for being here, everyone.
Okay, Diane, would you like to jump
Sure.
in here?
Thanks. Diane, multifaceted addict. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much. I came into this room in June of 2021 when I was really pretty much in the toilet and terrified and didn't know what to do or where to turn. But my doctor had said, you will go to an AA meeting. And I was so terrified that even though I had sworn to myself that would never happen, I finally found, after shopping around a little bit, I found this meeting and came in. And I instantly felt at home. I instantly knew I had found a wonderful, supportive group of people who wanted nothing more than to support me and help me be sober. And thanks to that, I am still sober today. I don't count the days anymore. for me, today's the day that counts. So I'm right in there with Margarita. I know I got a couple of days on her, so you can look at her count and I'm good. John, your sense of humor and your lightness of being has just carried me through many tough moments, and I cannot thank you enough for that. Randy, the first time in the very early days when I was having a really bad day and I was just ready to go, say fuck it and have a drink, your words came into my head about, and I probably won't say it right, there's no problem so bad that a drink can't make it worse. And I totally thought that at the time. And I went, oh, you know what? That's just genius. And so I'm not going to drink because I'm having a rotten day. And that'll pretty much guarantee that I make it much worse. And so I have enjoyed hosting and co-hosting these meetings. And, I hosted and co-hosted with Don a few times, and my heart, just breaks. But he's in a good place, I hope, off in the whatever. So thank you all for being here. It's really good to see you. This is where I found my sponsor after being totally afraid to find a sponsor, and somebody reached out to me, and it's been genius. Joe, thank you for your book. It's just the best, the best, the best. My group of ladies, thank you for being my friends. And with that, I will just hope that you all have a great, fabulous, sober day. Thanks.
Thanks, Diane. Appreciate you so much. Tim, how's things in Ultua?
Oh, it's nice here today. I'm sorry I was a little late. One of my friends in the in-person meeting passed out after the meeting, so we had to call an ambulance. So I hope it was just low blood sugar from taking Ozempic, but we got her taken care of, and glad to be here. I'd just like to say a big thank you to John and Kat and all the people that started this meeting. I was reluctant to even try AA back when I walked through the doors of AA on December 19th of 2016. But I somehow did because I was so miserable I needed it. And I didn't find secular AA till I discovered the secular meeting here in Chattanooga that started up in April of 2016 or 2017. Shortly around the time I started AA, but I didn't know about it. And I didn't even hear about it until I found it myself on the meeting list. And then I was doing okay with that, and then I had a really hard time early in 2020, with the pandemic. The in-person meeting I did here in Chattanooga did go online for a brief while. And I did continue with that, and it helped me through some difficult times with suicidal ideation, continuing that meeting with just a small number of people. But I reached out and found this meeting from the online list. And I don't know how John ran the whole meeting by himself, but he did a wonderful job of it. And I was surprised when I got that email response back. Yes, here's the credentials. I got it probably in a minute and a half. It's like, how in the world can you be running the whole thing and do that? But he did. And I'm glad to be participating. I shared this 10-year celebration with my in-person home group here in Chattanooga that now meets weekly at noon in Chattanooga, 7 days a week. And I consider this my home group for online meetings. So I kind of have an in-person home group and an online home group. So I'm glad to be part of it, and just thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Tim. It's always good to see you. I'm very happy to see you here. Catherine, I think also Janice K had her hand up, so we'll call on you, Janice, after Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm grateful to be sober today. Been sober a long time, and had been going to in-person meetings up until the time of the pandemic. And then like a lot of people, I was looking for some options and discovered secular AA kind of a little bit by accident. but online, I was a good Googler and stuff, so. Anyway, this was one of my first meetings that I went to, one of two, and I'm just so glad to be here. And I thank all of you, John and Kat and Catherine and Bill and all the people that got this meeting up and running. And I can only imagine what it was like to be here in person at an in-person meeting. I think that would be a hoot. Anyway, so I'm really, really pleased to be here. And I think I've been in this group for about 3 years and plan to keep on keeping on. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Catherine. We're so grateful for all the stuff you do too for the group. Very helpful. Carol, how are you? It's good to see you.
Oh, I'm Carol. I'm here. I'm sober today, and this meeting has been my home group since pandemic started. Catherine and I were searching for meetings. She had an epiphany and decided secular was a great. She doesn't mind if I tell that. And we found this. We found this meeting, second one we went to, I think, and the one that stuck. It's kind of like when you're looking for a house and you find one you really kind of like, and yeah, well, I better look at some more. And then you start comparing all those others to the one that you sunk your heart in. And this was that one for me. And I've been really happy to be of service when possible and continue. And I'll keep on keeping on as well. So thank you guys for starting this meeting, for having this particular meeting today where we can listen to all you, I won't say old timers, but starters. And thanks for being my sober friend.
Thanks, Carol. It's great to see you. Janice.
Hi there, I'm Janice,
Hey,
and thanks for having me here. I'm really grateful that I popped onto this meeting today. I don't make it all the time to this meeting, but I've always appreciated this group and all the great people that helped to run it, and all of my friends here. And I think Julia said something that I totally identified with, which was I found this meeting because I offended somebody in a traditional meeting, and after I did that twice and felt more and more not a part of the group, I started searching for meetings and ran into the Toronto Beyond Belief information, and from there, attended one of those meetings. And Bridget was really wonderful in helping me to get to know all the resources available for the secular community. And so I looked around in my area and couldn't find any meetings, so I started one on my own. And I'm in the Seattle area also, and I've been lucky enough that my pal Kenji helps me every week with that meeting, and I appreciate that, and Chris and Lindsay, and then I saw somebody from Whidbey Island, and that made me so excited because that's where I want to move to. And I go up there all the time. My son lives up there. So anyway, just really appreciate all of you and all of your contributions to this crazy disease, and everybody in it. So anyway, I want to say thank you. And Joe, I also wanted to say that when you and Dr. Baker spoke at one of the BC roundups, you guys inspired me to check into recovery coaching. And so I did, and I actually graduated about a week ago. So I'm officially a recovery coach. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it was really great information. And so anyway, thanks everybody.
Thanks, Janice. We're so glad you're here. Speaking of our Whidbey contingent, it's a very important part of our group. So thank you for mentioning that, Whidbey Island. Deanna?
Hi, I'm Deanna and I'm an alcoholic. Hello, everybody. I know quite a few of you, but a lot of you I don't know. I moved to the Chicago area about 7 years ago, and I didn't have, hadn't established meetings and didn't for a while look for a secular meeting. And I can't quite remember how I got turned on to this one, but I remember when I first came, the first time I went on to the meeting, John, you were the host. And I'm an emotional person, but I'm just going to say that you were so great. I mean, just the way you handled it, and you just made it seem like a place where I was welcome. And that's a rare talent, I really think. I just wanted you to know that, and to know that I appreciate everything you do. I know you're probably wanting to retire, but you do so much. So thank you very much, and thank you, everybody. That's it.
Thanks, Deanna. Not as much as I used to. We got a lot of people doing things now, so I backed out of a lot of it. Kevin, good to see you, brother.
Yeah, hi everybody. Kevin, alcoholic. And this is great. Learned a little bit, and I had one of them dysfunctional families. Never really heard the family lore. Had a grandmother who tell me some about it, but this is great, kind of getting to sitting around the gratitude table and hear the family lore about how this meeting came about, and a few other things to give it some context. I really enjoyed that. It was kind of funny. Years ago, we would have a gratitude dinner here in Bellevue. And the year I became a GSR, a month later, they didn't have a gratitude dinner because nobody rented the hall. The next 10 years, I rented the hall, and I got to think of it as my family Thanksgiving dinner, meeting all the cousins and such, sort of metaphorical sense. And really enjoyed that. And so I was coming here today and thinking this would be like that. And well, according to Dave, too many cooks spoil the broth. When he started chiming in, he's trying to figure something out. And yeah, but no, this is really great. And then, I hope we could do it again maybe next year or something, because November is gratitude month, and get to be grateful for all those people who came before us, I'd stopped going to AA about 6, 7 years ago and just kind of burned out on it. And then I found the secular during COVID. And the first place I found, they were just filled with angst and animosity and hostility towards the God crowd. And that wasn't attractive. But they did post the worldwide secular with list. And I found these other things. And, shortly after I found Cottonwood, I made it my official meeting. I go to well over a dozen meetings a week, but I like the structure of this meeting, and the reliability of it, and the willingness of so many people to do the service work to have it be a well-organized meeting. What Dave did in restructuring our paperwork, or what all those who came early on did to get this thing going. Bell starting a new meeting on Wednesday, or Kat keeping the Tuesday going or Susan, I'm sorry, keeping the Tuesday meeting going for a long time. So yeah, I get to come in here and be grateful for all of you that got it going. So I can just sit back here, slack in my apartment and be on Zoom and think, yeah, that's great. Glad you guys did that. And this is really great. So thanks to everybody for putting this together and for making this meeting happen. And yeah, I hope it has many years to go. Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. Liz.
It's alcoholic. I'll be brief. Thank you so much. I just wanted to, I'm on the road and I just wanted to pipe in and just say how happy I am for you and just grateful for this meeting, even though I don't come much anymore. I'm not able to, but it's been really important to me, and I've made so many connections, in particular with a small group of women which grew out of this group, and so I'm really just immensely grateful for everything you have done. Thanks.
Thanks, Liz. Hey, Terry, haven't seen you in a while. You got anything you want to say about our beginnings, our middles, or our endings?
My name is Terry and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Terry.
Well, I don't know about this noon meeting's beginnings other than COVID, because I didn't get around to secular AA until the Tuesday meeting at the firehouse in Cornville. And of course, most of you that have come to the Tuesday meeting know that I'm there just about every time, But then, I've known John and Kat for a long time in service, and I didn't know John that had a meeting that he had started. I thought he was a treasurer because he seemed to be the treasurer for Intergroup for like forever. That's just a private jet. But I've been to this meeting sometimes, and I've seen a lot of you people, and I really appreciate all of you, and especially Joe. I have never met Joe, but I did get a chance to hear him one time. And up until I heard him talk, I thought that maybe as Joe sees it was the same as Bill sees it, but it's not. That's all I got, John.
Thanks, Terry. I thought I saw Rick or Pamela, one of them had a hand up. Did you want to talk?
Yes. Do I have enough time?
Sure.
Oh, okay. My name is Pamela and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, everybody. What a great meeting. I remember, I want to say it was about 2.5 years ago, because we found Zoom and like 4 years ago, like during COVID, and we were going to the Children of Chaos meeting in Austin for about 1.5 years. And then we found this meeting, and I remember emailing the address, Freethinkers email address, and John got back to me in a matter of minutes to give me the password and the, to get into the meeting. And as soon as we found this meeting, we felt like we were at home and loved it. And I just love everybody here, all of you. And I wanted to say thank you, and I'm grateful for you all.
Well, thanks. We're grateful for you guys too. And I just have one more person I have to call on. Xander, you want to say a couple of words? I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you. Well, I can't quite see you.
Hi, thanks. I'm out and about. Nice to see you all. It's let me just step outside. It's noisy in here. Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm glad I caught a little bit of it. I just logged on a few minutes ago. I too fall in the grateful group. It was such a pleasure being able to meet a lot of you in person over the last couple of years, because even though I don't come to this group regularly, it's still a staple for me, and for keeping me grounded, and for keeping me in recovery. And I think you're all awesome. So thanks very much, and congratulations on being such a wonderful source of healing for people. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Xander. Appreciate you too. And if you haven't heard Xander's talk from the last conference, it's available on aasecular.org. as are all of the, I don't know if all of them are up there yet, but a lot of them are. And it's a good resource. And thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. What we normally do at this meeting is we close the meeting with the responsibility pledge, which you are welcome to unmute and join in on if you decide you want to do that. You certainly do not have to. Who is responsible?
I am
I am
responsible.
responsible when
When
anyone,
Anyone,
anywhere,
anywhere
reaches out
reaches
for
out
help.
for
I
help.
want
I want
the hand of AA
Always be
always
To
be
be
there.
there.
And for
And
that, I am
I am
responsible.
responsible.
Yeehaw.
Thanks, John. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
John.
Thank you,
everybody.
John.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great meeting.